today we are doing the Sanctum 36-hour challenge. That means that we will be homeless for 36 hours on the streets of Saskatoon, and we've got different challenges that we have to accomplish. Essentially, we start off with our donated shoes and donated clothes. We have no money, no food, and we are trying to understand the challenges that people go through day to day.
I'm an 18-year-old woman who is 5 months pregnant and has to figure out how to manage all of that, has to figure out how to take care of her baby, doesn't have a place to live, has a lot of experience with domestic violence, and has been involved in the gang life and now out, so a lot of hurdles. I rarely get nervous about anything, but I'm really nervous about this.
I guess for me the first challenge is they took my glasses off me. I already feel vulnerable because I can't read, and now I have to sort of rely heavily on somebody else, and I think I've already had the first sort of emotional reaction to being somewhat challenged.
We're dealing with an unhoused crisis. You're in our core area right here, and active addiction is present, open drug use is present, and that's just the reality of what we're dealing with in our community.
For myself, personally, it's to get a better perspective of homelessness in our community and bringing awareness to the people in my circles.
I work at St. Paul's Hospital and I see the challenges every morning on my way to work, and the ability to walk some steps in the shoes of others that we see. I hope to get better clarity on what I can be doing to make this situation better for the people of Saskatoon.
The real change is going to happen through education, and this is part of that process. We start here, and hopefully we get the values shift over time just by telling people about what we've learned and what we've experienced.
We are here to start our naloxone training for the day because we are in an opiate crisis in this province, and we may encounter someone who may need Narcan, and it would be best if we are carrying and also be able to help someone out if we have to.
So naloxone is the medication that would save your life if you're experiencing an opioid overdose.
Opiates are everywhere, and it's not just the opiate overdose crisis doesn't affect just one population, it affects us all, and if we all are trained to be able to save a life, I think that's important.
We had some instruction on first of all, naloxone, but understanding the opioid crisis and understanding some of the challenges that come from that crisis in case we come across a situation while we're out on the challenge where we have to help somebody. I have COPD, so I have to pull around an air tank with me, and we have breathing exercises that I have to go through and my partner has to go through to simulate COPD, so those are things that we have to face today.
And then they may give you the second one for some sleepovers and things, and so our job then is to find you a safe place that qualifies for that. It's really upsetting to go inside these buildings and see what they're renting for $9.50 without utilities for a one-bedroom. So
and it's not condemned.
No, it's not. No.
So the fire, you can see
where the fire went up.
And
yeah.
The whole basement probably has water damage.
Yeah. So $700 a month. Technically 4 people supposed to be in here. 2 rooms up here. There's 2 rooms downstairs. It is unfinished though. There's no bathroom now.
When you work with HEART, they will help you find housing. And basically, this is the housing that is available for a lot of the clients. It's very disturbing to me that this is where we're putting people in our community and we are expecting them to thrive. It's not good enough for my kids. You know, we met a young woman in there. She's taking care of herself. She's trying to take care of her home, and there's multiple people living in her home, in her space, because they don't have a space to live, but she has a space to offer them. This individual needs more supports.
It's a referral first.
Yeah, you come in and see us and we would be looking at that blood work is usually kind of the first things.
I'm here at Westside Clinic and I was here to meet up with a nurse to talk about starting antiretroviral therapy. It sounds like they have quite the process and that things are pretty fast acting if you do want help. So one of the questions I asked was, when's the soonest I can start medication if I want to start medication? And she said immediately right now. That was really cool to hear.
If Sanctum wasn't here, I would not be here. I would not be here.
We were part of a peer support group. It was so interesting to hear from people who've been through this and who've had success and who've gotten the support, and they talked about how important those supports are. And we've been really lucky. We were at the Friendship Inn for lunch and got to see what they offered there and the supports they offered there. These resources are so critical for everyone. Pebbles talked about Sanctum still home, that it's still the place that she comes to. It's a place she feels safe. And I think, when you can give that back, how important that is.
We are the Saskatoon Food Bank and Learning Center. We are a very critical organization in Saskatoon. I'm sure most people are aware. Right now, we are seeing a demand like we've never seen before. We are serving roughly about 23,000 individuals a month. 41% of the folks that we are serving are children.
We just heard from the staff that sometimes people come here and they haven't eaten for days. In this country, that shouldn't be happening. And thank goodness that we have places like the food bank, but how can we do better so we don't need this? That's what we need to be looking towards. More people. We're meeting more people on the street. We're seeing more people at every venue that we go to. The service organizations are overwhelmed, and I think that's starting to show. We're not improving. We're not improving HIV rates. We're not improving engagement in care. We're not improving homelessness. I think you need to get out there and take a look. You need to come to the food bank and see what they're doing every day. And for you to sit there and judge someone when you don't know what they've gone through or what they've done, I think that's very important. I'm lucky. I've been born lucky. I'm born with the right color skin. I had a family that protected me. I didn't have to deal with a lot of shit that people have to deal with. And so I am blessed and I need to pay it back.
I know. I told you I'm competitive. I want to find all of them. We ended up coming downtown to source out cans as part of the challenge, and we ended up bumping into a couple of the women from my office as we were going down 21st Street. How's it going? It's very humbling. We're part of a can challenge right now. It's so difficult to find cans. It's honestly been a very moving day. Yeah. Like very dirty. I don't care. No, it's been good. Yeah, it's really humbling to be part of it. I just had no idea. Right? There's a lot of kindness in our community. And I think that a lot of the people who show a lot of kindness, sometimes it's not who you think it'll be. We were behind St. Paul's Hospital, and there was a woman back there who was clearly struggling. And at the needle exchange, you can exchange a needle for another needle or a needle for a snack. She had an extra needle and she offered it to us so that we could get a snack too, because she obviously didn't realize that we were part of a challenge. She just thought that we were homeless back there just like her. So that was really humbling for me because she needed a snack a lot more.
In the envelopes is where you'll stay tonight. Oftentimes, people experiencing homelessness have no idea where they'll spend the night.
The Wellness Center.
Outside.
I'm sleeping outside. It's been quite the day. He gets a lot of attention. I feel a little bit invisible, and then with Theo, it's like there's acknowledgement. I went to the clothing depot because they actually have some dog food, and I've been wondering what I'm going to feed him for supper. I was able to access it for free. We went back to Sanctum, and I didn't have his food. I was looking because it was 5 o'clock by that time. Well, I must have left it along the way. So I went back to the Westside Clinic where I was. The waiting room was packed. A woman, I just walked in, she heard that I lost my bag and it was for dog food, not even 10 seconds, and she wants to give me $20. And I left there, I was just crying. That's a lot of money for so many people. I'm a very privileged person. And yes, of course, I give at times, but there's many times where I would think twice about this person. I really think they would need money, but I'm too busy and I walk past. I feel ashamed. And then you see something like that, they just give. Yeah, it's quite shameful.
What's really been stark for me is just the complexity of the system to help people in need it the most. It's difficult anyway in licensing and identity and for those that are really desperately in need, the effort that needs to be undertaken by them and the number of hoops and steps and processes and bureaucracy and departments, and in an area where there's a definite need and people probably less capacity to navigate what's required, it seems harder and more difficult, and that's caught me by surprise today. Yeah, I guess a little bit daunted when I heard I was going to be sleeping outdoors. I don't have the security maybe of four walls or some form of heating, or kind of left to our own devices somewhat. We have to find ourselves suitable bedding. We're out in the elements. It's actually overcast here today in Saskatoon. There's a fair chance we'll get rain tonight, so there might be a need to move at some point through the evening. So not expecting to get a lot of sleep.
We will be up before dawn, and I probably will not sleep more than an hour. You're sleeping outside and you're vulnerable. You're not. I mean, I've done lots of camping and I sleep outside in a tent in bear country and it doesn't bother me. I sleep well, but out here I don't. I'm just a bit unnerved and I'm a bit uncomfortable. Not scared for my life, but it's just we're very vulnerable out here, and there's a lot of unknown, and so I don't sleep.
Originally, I was sent to the detox center, so that's a place where you go if you're under the influence, whether that's drugs, alcohol, anything like that. But unfortunately, all the beds were already full, so outside it is. The moment when I didn't have a bed to stay in, I felt like I was fine, and that's because I know I have a bed to go back to eventually. But the person in front of me that got turned away and the person after me that got turned away that might not have somewhere to sleep, all I had to give them was my orange from my bag and a bottle of water, and it wasn't enough. For me, after today, my lesson is I think we should all have to do this. Every single person that doesn't experience these struggles should have to do this challenge. Nobody is understanding the gravity of the situation unless they go through this and see it themselves.
We're at the Saskatoon Tribal Council Wellness Center out on the west end of Saskatoon. I had a really good night's sleep after walking out here for 45 minutes last night and all the work that we were doing. I think before we started walking out here, we were at about 23,000 steps yesterday. So it was one of the surprises that how much walking we had to do. Walking from the end of 20th Street all the way downtown and back again. To get to the services that we needed was something. We only have to do this for 36 hours, but imagine the people that are homeless on the street who have to do that every day. So it was really quite an eye-opening experience having to do that as well.
I slept in the women's pod, and so there's about 35 cots with nice blankets and a nice pillow. I was amazed at how calm and quiet it was in there, really, and I could hear little kids running around, which was really sad that we got little kids in there.
Right. But the kids looked like they were happy and well cared for, and had a place to stay. But, what do we have to do so little toddlers have a place to live?
I'm feeling a bit sore this morning. The night was pretty windy and cold. Theo tucked into me for most of the night, and so that actually helped. But with the wind, it was just, getting around my back, and that kept me up many times throughout the night. I think, so much of our society, we focus on ourselves and what's good for us, and to have a better community in Saskatoon and in our province, we actually have to be able to think of ourselves collectively to actually step up and say, I am going to help.
I slept, yeah. It was cold. We had ourselves positioned where the wind comes sort of straight through the bag and everything.
Breakfast material for you.
Inflammation and infection of the heart, the lining and the valves. So people often get it from bacterial infection. So when bacteria gets into your blood, it circulates long enough, it will kind of bind.
It's hard to imagine just adding another element to your life over and above being homeless and trying to find a meal every day, trying to find somewhere to sleep every day, to then find you've got a serious heart condition, it's endocarditis, and then having to navigate. How do I get this treated? How do I deal with my addiction potentially? How do I deal with other, if I have HIV, how do I deal with being separated from family? Plus, how do I deal with the significant? And what we found today is that it's a very much a pull model. If you make yourself known, if the condition potentially exists, the team here come and grab you. They bring you into the system. That's one reflection of the conversation today that really I admire. In fact, the entry into this program is one that's very inviting and draws you in.
It feels like a huge barrier to ever getting out of this really vicious cycle, right? Mm-hmm. You're just going in circles. You need this to get this, you need this to get this, you need this to get this.
Even the list, you have to complete all the areas.
Yeah.
You have to have 2 landlord references.
Yeah.
You gotta have a copy of a bank statement and a copy of last pay stub.
One of the challenges that we have to do today is to make a housing application. It was just overwhelming, frankly, the types of applications that you have to complete. I actually think that I couldn't complete the application successfully based on the criteria that they're using. There's so many systemic barriers to helping people get ahead, and there's so many just obstacles that are in the way, even if you wanted to try to help yourself, if you could work up the gumption to do that. And what we're faced with throughout this process is homelessness, houselessness, the insecurity that brings, the instability that creates. And it's foundational to any kind of recovery or any kind of getting onto a constructive life path. Because you have to worry every day about where you're going to sleep, how you're going to eat, and all the stuff that we take for granted for the most part. It just is in the way. We have to take care of that fundamental pillar so that we can build people up.
So one of our challenges today in the Sanctum Challenge was to come to the primary healthcare bus that's ran by the Saskatchewan Health Authority. Today it's parked over off 22nd Street by No Frills. So we made our way over here to be seen by the primary healthcare bus here. And they're booked up solid. There's people coming in, they're serving the community. They're just so busy and tied up that they can't accommodate to see us today, which is great. That means they're seeing people, but certainly shows the need for increased access to primary care here in Saskatoon. Yeah, certainly the last 2 days have been enlightening. We're getting fatigued and played out, and we're just lucky to only have to be out here for 36 hours. There's people that are living on our streets at this exhausting adventure is their daily life and all of the struggles that they have. So, I mean, the resilience in the people who live in our community that are struggling with housing and food, these are some amazing human beings. I look forward to working with that community to try to take some of that burden away from them.
We had a woman come up to us who had lost a shoe, and she was frantic because she was having an argument with spouse or a significant other, and she approached Corey and I, and so we said, well, we can help you find a pair of shoes if you want to come with us. And so she agreed to come, and so then we took her back to Sanctum. Right away, someone's outside bringing her shoes, bringing her a new fresh pair of socks, and she's talking about, you know, her children. She doesn't have access to her children. They've all been taken away. We left her in the care of the people at Sanctum, and, you know, I followed up later, and they were able to help her and help her see a physician. And so I would want someone, if I was on the street, to have empathy for me in those moments and not see me as, you know, someone who's an addict, but someone who needs help.
Last hour I've been just absolutely exhausted and emotional, and I keep thinking, you know, what am I doing differently at work on Monday morning? You know, how is this experience going to change what I do going forward?
My boy Henry and daughter Grace come running up at me, and I see two children that are healthy. I see them with everything they need, and then you think about the contrast of what we've seen over the last couple of days, and you just feel fortunate in my life and fortunate in our lives, but then think about, well, what lessons can we teach them? What can I share with them? What can I bring into the way they see the world that makes them compassionate and caring type people, you know?
They are teaching us something, and we're not seeing it. We're thinking that we're right, and they need to be more like us, but actually, we need to be more like them. They are teaching us to give of ourselves, and that's, I think that's a very valuable lesson that we all will take away from this.